Are you passionate about guide dogs and the powerful ways they change lives? Join the Dog Handlers Interest Group, a welcoming space to celebrate, learn, and share experiences from the world of guide dogs. This group brings together handlers, trainers, dog lovers, and anyone curious about the transformative bond between people and their guide dogs. Whether you've worked with a guide dog for years or you're just starting your journey, there's a place for you here. Don't miss it. Connect, grow, and be inspired. The Dog Handlers Interest Group. Visit bva.org today for more info.
Go to bva.org to find out how you can directly make a difference in the lives of the brave men and women who have given their eyesight in defense of our freedom. They fought for your independence, and by going to bva.org, you can find out how to help these veterans regain theirs. Go to bva.org today.
Today on Visions of BVA, we're joined by Gregory Crandell, the General Manager of HOLON US Inc. HOLON is developing an autonomous shuttle designed for public and private transportation. As this technology moves closer to real-world deployment in the United States, it has the potential to reshape how people travel within their communities. Today, we'll explore what this innovation could mean for accessibility, safety, and independence for the blind and visually impaired community. Hey, Greg, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you, Steve, for the opportunity to join you today. We're looking forward to explain more about our HOLON urban vehicle, the bus, and what it can do and how it can also serve the blind and visually impaired community.
Absolutely. You were talking to me just a little bit before we started recording about where you guys are located. Could you explain maybe where the company is located, where you're located?
I'm located in Auburn Hills, Michigan. This is where our parent company, the Bentler Group, is headquartered in the United States. So HOLON will eventually move to Jacksonville, Florida, where we will build our manufacturing facility. But our parent company this year globally has been around 150 years, 45 years in the United States. We have 9 locations and just over 2,000 employees, mostly spread through the I-75 corridor, north and south, where a lot of the OEMs are, because as Bentler Automotive is a Tier 1 supplier, we service most of those OEMs. And for us, we're now the OEM, which is a new beginning and a new feeling for us.
Awesome. So what made you want to work for this company? I mean, what's your background? Is it? Could you just explain a little bit about that?
Certainly will. Let's see. I was a 3rd-generation General Motors employee. So, of course, we all have choices. Coming out of university, I knew I was going to work for GM because my grandfather, my mother, and father at the time worked for General Motors. And so growing up, that's all we talked about, all we discussed was about the automotive industry. In university, I had the opportunity, because of the, automotive background, of interest to go to Japan to see why there was this competition and what was behind a lot of our table talk that we had at dinners every evening. So I've spent a significant amount of my career and my time here in Asia, and mostly in Japan. I went to university and then studied there. I also went back over with General Motors for 4.5 years. Again, I left General Motors, but I stayed in automotive and worked for the Tier 1 automotive supplier, Magda International. And my mentor had asked me to go with him there and do some exciting things that we did in Asia. And then he gave me the opportunity to transition to a startup OEM that was, again, focused on something brand new. Was also for the similar to the bus, but a smaller version. It was called the Vehicle Production Group, where it provided the wheelchairs accessibility and dealt with the visually impaired community, all of these things that I'm doing on the bus. After that, I moved to Bentler Group. My first day was in Shanghai, China. So I was there for 3.5 years. My boss had asked me to come to headquarters in Paderborn, Germany, where I learned more about the company and the products. Again, the whole Bentler group has got glass processing, also steel and tube, along with automotive, and now HOLON. And then when I moved to the United States for the company, I worked for a little bit for the automotive side and had this opportunity. And this, with the HOLON, was the perfect fit. And in all the things that I've been working on throughout my career, in automotive, it's been body and white, which is the under the skin of the steel parts, and then getting back into a startup, this entrepreneurial spirit with, again, serving the community. This was a taxi cab company at the time was our focus, and now this for public transit.
No, I appreciate that explanation. The General Motors comment and statement, it's one of my favorite automotive companies, and I've owned a number of vehicles, mostly GM trucks, and so
Yes, me too.
And so I've always loved GM. And not having, of course, the listeners of this show know and realize that I cannot see, and I miss driving very much. It's such having the freedom to drive across the country or to wherever you need to go is so important, of course, in our culture and all around the world. And I guess having this conversation today with you about the future of vehicles and autonomous vehicles like the bus. And what is the name of this particular vehicle that maybe we're talking about today?
The model name is called the Urban.
Urban.
It had been a long time called the Mover, but we finally gave it a model name called the Urban, the lowercase u and URBAN. So Urban is the model name.
Yeah, and all my friends and the people I know and spend a lot of time with who are blind or visually impaired are excited about the future of various things. We're in this wild age where artificial intelligence models and just machine vision and different things are really allowing us to be even more independent. I can literally point my phone at things and have a conversation with a machine and point my finger at objects and really have like a fluid conversation about something that I need to identify in front of me. And that was science fiction for a long time. I think it was possible in different realms, but it's becoming more, I think, integrated into just the deeper community, the general community of the world. And so our conversation today about the Urban is something that I'm quite interested in. And maybe you can just talk a little bit about the company, about the vehicle and where it is right now. I did watch some things on YouTube. I think it was from the Consumer Electronic show.
CES.
Maybe a few years ago or a year ago. And so I'm just wondering how things are going and what this vehicle is, and is it already here on the ground in the U.S.?
Well, I think it's good for me to give you a little background so you know and have the confidence that, we are a startup in a sense, but we've got that parent company that's been around for so long.
Sure.
HOLON grew out of the Bentler Automotive Group, doing a lot of modules, bumpers, suspension systems. When the automotive industry became more electrified, we were required to do the same. We started making battery trays. Then we were asked to put the batteries in it to make cooling plates, which we make today. And then we started to think about, we can make, in essence, a skateboard. So, because we had the battery packs inside of our trays with the suspension modules, and we talked to several startup OEMs and see if they were interested. They were not. They wanted to keep that intellectual property in-house. And then we thought, well, the next step would be for us to do what we did a long time ago, which was build our own vehicle, but do it on a different focus, meaning not just a little car, which was called a Champion, but to take that to public transit and make a bus. When we looked at the market and started to see the competition out there, not only from a competition standpoint, but where can we provide value? We found that this 15 passenger, which would be seated and standing passengers, would fit right in that segment to provide a service and benefits to a whole lot of people that we've built this up over the years and kind of brought all of our skill base from the General Motors, the BMWs, the Toyotas, to know what automotive grade for a purpose-built vehicle meant. And today, it's still in what we call prototype phase, and we're testing. The vehicle has not gone into officially start of production, but we've made over 30 units, and there have been through winter testing, the hardware testing, all of these things that need to do to make them homologated to be on public roads. We've done that in Germany. So the vehicle is designed and engineered in Germany, and it will be built in the United States for say, global distribution. And for us, the vehicle is meant to provide another medium or mode of transportation. Maximum speed is only 37 miles an hour. And we're not intending to go on highways. We're there to supplement the existing transportation that the public transit authorities, the PTAs, have in place. I describe it as being the tentacles of the octopus and bringing them back into collectors so that the existing bus routes and those large buses that hold lots of people give them more customers, but also allow them to do what they do great, go long distances at higher speeds. Our vehicle is intended to go down the smaller routes and roads back into the neighborhoods. And you would consider us first mile, last mile, that people that might consider public transit, but it's just too far for them. If they had a intermediate step, which would be us to get to the collector or a train station and then ride public transit. That has always been our intention. And for us to get as many different types of people into the vehicle, we looked at what is limiting people from riding it. And it'd be from either the age, say the aged distinguisher, meaning from young to old, anyone that was in a wheelchair or blind or visually impaired or hearing impaired. And let me just give you one example that we purposely put the batteries at either end of this bus. And we did that for a couple of reasons. One, safety, for redundancy, so that if there was ever an incident, that there was something had happened to the front battery, the rear battery could still operate. So safety and redundancy. But it also allows us to have a lower load floor, which means that step-in height is right now at 10.5 inches. And under the skin of the vehicle, we have an air ride suspension, and that allows us to lower it an additional almost 2 inches. Again, allowing people to have an easier access into the vehicle.
No, this is amazing to hear. I caught some of these kinds of comments and statements from some of the footage I gathered from YouTube. I live, on the outer edge of a retirement town, a rural town here in Montrose, Colorado, Western Colorado. I don't know if you've ever visited this corner of the state, but it's a residential community. There's homes next to me. And there is a decent public transit system with like down the spine of this town, and but they don't reach out into these neighborhoods. There are paratransit. There is a paratransit company, but it would be nice to have something like this that does maybe enter these areas or these parts of communities, as I'm understanding from your explanation, where I can jump on maybe this kind of shuttle and get to the center of town and utilize the existing transportation. Am I understanding correctly? Maybe like how it might be integrated in my town if it was
Yes,
adopted here.
that's exactly right. It is to get to the places because this is only 16 feet long. It's not like a big 40-foot bus, so it can make sharper turns and get into, call it the smaller roads, to pick up those people and then bring them to a larger terminal where they can get access to public transit that's already available for them today.
When I was asking questions, and I like I mentioned, if you can't answer them, I completely understand. It's like these wishes and these things that you hope for. Does your company or even the parent company, are they are considering these types of riders like disability, anybody with a disability or visual impairment, as a big part of the market that you guys are targeting, or it's really just any kind of transit and transportation system that you guys are trying to push these vehicles towards?
From day one, it was all riders, to be inclusive.
Sure.
Inclusivity is a word that is used a lot, but this is for public transit. Public transit means that in any city here in the United States, it has to be able to service almost anyone. So from the beginning, we had this intention to do this. Now, I can tell you, being a tier one automotive supplier and then wanting to go to the next level up, which was the OEM, the original equipment manufacturer, it's quite a step. So our partner, the Jacksonville Transportation Authority, JTA, which is in Jacksonville where we'll build our plant, they have supported us above and beyond. Let me give you an example, is that we started to have design reviews with them over a year and a half ago. And we said, this is going to be our design. Let's take a look at it. They immediately told us there's definite improvements you can make. From the shape of the vehicle, the look of the vehicle, but also accessibility and a communication to the external riders. Now, since then, even we made improvements to the vehicle, we went back 2 other times to do focus groups. They have a group there that they call JTAC, which is people that are in a wheelchair, they're in a scooter, the blind, and also visual hearing impaired. We've had those groups with the help of JTA do focus groups with our improved interior and exterior designs, where we have 2 vehicles today. From that, we've made engineering loops and made improvements because we know that we need help. Also, as this is being done in Germany, we've worked with the local Paderborn, city of Paderborn, to help us because different countries, different cities all have different needs for the passengers. So we've incorporated as much as we can in the vehicle to be accessible by almost anyone.
Curious about the latest tech and tools for independent living? Join us for the Vet Tech and Educational Series, your weekly destination for new technologies, innovative services, and essential life skills. These interactive webinars feature expert advice, product spotlights, and hands-on strategies to help you thrive. Discover what's possible, empower your independence. Don't miss the Vet Tech and Educational Series. Visit bva.org today for more info. Innovation and independence at your fingertips.
When I think of a vehicle like this that's autonomous and operated kind of really on its own, maybe with the ability for a remote operator to get involved, because again, from what I've reviewed, it sounds like this is becoming more prevalent in this industry or of autonomous vehicles and maybe even robots. I questions about, from my perspective, a blind or visually impaired rider, like, do we have, does an application, and this might have more to do with, of course, the transit system, as you alluded to in messages we had before we had this conversation, but I just wonder, like, the future of a vehicle like this, how it works, because it seems so futuristic in the sense of autonomy. But like, when I'm looking for a vehicle, or a bus stop, having the ability to understand where I am when I'm on the vehicle, and when to get off. Like, is there technology from these focus groups? Or is this kind of technology being considered for the vehicle, or something to retrofit into the vehicle? Or is there another group of the company or another company that's going to partner to do this kind of stuff? Or is that stuff that's too far? I'm too far reaching, and maybe this has not all been examined. But it's, yeah, just as a blind rider, not knowing if the vehicle is there, and once it's stopped and it's loading, is there audible signals? Is when you're on the bus, like, is there a way to understand what's going on around you? Maybe, is it going to report crossing streets, or maybe will that be done through a device, that, like, an app on my phone, or am I? Is this beyond the scope of what you guys are working on?
Well, so the answer in short is it will do all of that, and we have been thinking about all of this. Let me explain a little more. You brought up a lot of points. So if I look at the route, understand that whenever we deploy in a new city, a couple things will happen. One, we will work with the Public Transit Authority, the PTA, to educate the public, not just the I would say the people that would normally ride it are not visually impaired or handicapped, but also those that are, because we've found that people like to test the new technology. Will it stop? What are the limitations of it? And by education of the community, also it will allow them to understand what is the main purpose for the vehicle, how to interact with it, and then we will start to deploy it on the streets. Every deployment, we will have a limit, or an operator that is in there, that will be there, that can take over control of the vehicle if necessary. So in limited manual mode, there will be a certified operator. Then after the community and the PTA and also HOLON, we get to know the environment. At some point, we will then remove what we will call the driver, and we call driver out. At that point, there won't be anyone on the inside the vehicle, but you'll always have a command center behind as an interface that can always reach out to. Now, the first routes will always be fixed. Therefore, the stop that is there, it will always pull up to the same stop, the doors will open, there will always be the same gap between it, because most likely at each stop there's going to be a curb. We'll ensure that the vehicle distance from the curb is safe and consistent, and that upon approaching of this bus, the HOLON bus, that you will be able to hear it. And this can also be determined by the PTA if they have a local sound. I don't want to say it's like the ice cream truck or something, or someone's got the ocean if they're near the beach, but you'll know that this vehicle is approaching. We will integrate with an application in collaboration with the PTA if they already have an existing one, or we can provide one. And that will allow to identify and personalize the user experience. That in case would be that if you informed the application that you were blind, and that way it would then know you were at the stop because you had asked to be the next rider on that vehicle, it would then allow you to know that it was coming. And then whether if it's someone that, say, can or cannot see, there will always be a sound as it approaches the stop. At every stop, externally and internally, because we have speakers on both sides that can communicate with all passengers, whether it be inside or outside, that vehicle is approaching, vehicle is coming to a stop, doors are opening. In this case, we even have the command that the ramp is deploying. The vehicle will start now. We've started moving. As the vehicle takes off and starts to go, then you would be that we're coming up to a stop. There's so many different cues that will be audible and visual, because inside the vehicle we have 3 display screens. Audible for if the vehicle stops and if it becomes confused or it needs assistance, that will explain to the passengers, right now the vehicle has been paused for this particular reason. These are our next steps. We'll communicate with you in the next 30 seconds about the next steps. So communication is so key regardless of the passenger, because one of the things that I believe that autonomous vehicles must bring, but is a benefit, that they provide a consistency in the service, the hardware, and the user interface. All of those 3 things there provide confidence and trust in the technology, and in our case, the HOLON vehicle, which we have one variant, which will always be the same. That way, when you know you're getting on a HOLON vehicle, you step in and go to the left, and there is a priority seat that's right next to the door and the handrail.
No, thank you, Greg, for that explanation. You mentioned a focus group, and it sounds like in the Jacksonville area that you are conducting this. Is there a way for people to be involved across the country or the world, or are you guys focusing there in that region mostly?
So for, say, the visually impaired or the blind, we have gotten most of our U.S. feedback from the JTA and their team, the JTAC. We also have a special interest group with United Spinal for wheelchair and scooter users that we collaborate with. If they would like more information or participate in a future focus group when it happens, the Jacksonville Transportation Authority is the best way to go about getting involved.
Okay.
Or if you go to the HOLON website and then would like to, there's a contact us that you can ask for, where's the next focus group and how can I get involved? Because it's important for us to always improve, and that's the benefit of autonomous vehicles, how they interact with the public, and us as the auto manufacturer to improve our designs.
Oh, it's remarkable. I mean, like you were talking about, serving the entire public. It's definitely a great way to go about it. I mean, there's this idea of universal access and having everybody having the opportunity to get where they need to go. And so, just as someone who's blind or visually impaired, it's just knowing that these types of vehicles will be deployed, I have no doubt, in different communities across the country and the world. It's really going to give people the ability to more transportation capability. And I'm excited to see how it changes and grows. These questions I ask you, I know a lot of my blind friends and people I know would ask, because they want to know how friendly the vehicle will be, how dependable it is in weather and at the stops and on the road while we're moving. And so I guess is there anything I'm failing to ask you? Like, is there something that you'd like to describe about the company, about the vehicle to this community specifically? I mean, the entire public can listen to this podcast, but we definitely have a large blind and visually impaired population of veterans who listen in and
Yes.
are excited about the different things that are coming in the near future.
Steve, I thought you were going to ask me about the limitations of the vehicle. So I was thinking it's coming. So I thought maybe I should be a little proactive and talk about that the vehicle is driverless, not humanless. So saying that there are limitations when it was in extreme rain or snow, that we would not operate. And I generally say, if you think that you shouldn't be driving in it, the vehicles will not be deployed in it. So that's also another way for us to maintain the safety and security, as things, the weather changes and situation changes. We are, preparing for what I would say a driver that is in a vehicle driving, doing their normal, actions, that safety, vehicles, first responders, how do we interact with them? How, in the event that the vehicle becomes stopped because of something, the vehicle just stopped in the middle of the road, there would be an audible sound. There would be someone that communicates, and then in this case, it would tell you how long before someone would be there at your vehicle. But when someone reaches out, if there's assistance or if anyone in the vehicle gets confused, you can immediately reach out to the command center by either pressing a button or by saying a key word that can be identified by the PTA, and someone will be there with you in the vehicle. They can see you and they'll be able to see the situation. I think that helps a lot, because in the experiences I've had in autonomous vehicles and riding in our HOLON bus, that it's this unknowing portion in the first 5 minutes of when it takes off. What's going to happen? And as I was preparing for this and looked at, a few of the questions, that how do I explain it? The vehicle has a high, what I would call like a belt line, which means that the batteries are at either end. And in order to get the biggest batteries in there, we had to raise the walls a little bit. I would say the shorter customers, or, the youth, can't see directly outside. And therefore, that's why our 3 displays inside also are communicating what's going on, either visually or we're coming up to the next stop. Steve, prepared to get off. This is your stop at Montrose Road, and things like that. But there are limitations to the vehicle. We're always improving, and that the technology is getting better constantly, and that's through use. I can tell you that I do enjoy driving, but it's not something that if I didn't have to do it, again, the amount of stress that we have from worrying about what's going on around us, allowing some aspects of it to be automated, are very comfortable. And after a few minutes of having that consistent communication and knowing that you're going to be safe, you really start to relax and enjoy it more.
I agree completely. And I look forward to those kinds of changes and how things are refined, because that's just technology in general. And as we use it, we become more comfortable with the operation of whatever device or technology we get into. Aircraft and some other kinds of technology that we get into or can be very autonomous already, and or at least automated in some way or form or fashion. And sometimes people just don't even realize that in this day and age. But we're comfortable with it, or we believe in it. And I think, like you say, as this vehicle is introduced and it goes through its benchmarks, like other vehicles that are being deployed on the road already, I know there are other companies doing things like this, not with shuttles, but with like small taxis.
Yes.
But I guess the last question is, since it is a completely electric vehicle at this point, is that what it is?
It is, and I'm sorry for not mentioning that, is that It is fully electric.
No, it's fine.
Important part of that is that it also remains quiet, so that when it does come up to the bus stop, that the audible sound, Steve, your bus is approaching, or bus 235 is approaching, or 235 will be departing. It's important that we don't, I would say, noise pollution is also something we're very considerate of.
Oh, I actually own a small electric car that I purchased to have here at my home because I live pretty much alone, and when I have family or friends fly in or come and visit, the vehicle I have is nice because I don't have to worry about certain maintenance, at least, and it's easy just to go a couple miles, like that, and so that's what I have actually. And so riding in an electric vehicle and noticing how quiet and peaceful it is compared to an internal combustion engine or vehicles that have, a motor, a loud motor, it is calming or more peaceful. Especially, especially when you're listening to music and everything, it is an interesting experience to get used to. It's so quiet. You're worried that it's not running or it's not moving sometimes. But I think the last question, because of the electric stuff, it just comes to mind is in this current political atmosphere, and with the changes that are occurring, is that affecting the company's decisions in pursuing, I don't know, maybe hybrid options, or is it strictly going to be electric vehicle maybe moving forward, or do you not have an answer for something like that?
We will strictly be an electric vehicle. We're for long distances and the need to charge and the need to see inside of it, because you're going to have multiple passengers. Going back to a depot is one of the things that you'll want to do, just to make sure that it's clean and check up on things and then send it back out on its mission. Because even though you can see on the inside of the vehicle, it's always good just to bring it back in. But we will always stay electric, as I mentioned, for environmental purposes and also quiet noise and things like that. See, one thing I did want to bring up, and I like to really reiterate, is safety and the redundancy we have for the vehicle. Excuse me. I had mentioned about the battery, but when we talk about autonomous vehicles, people get concerned that, is it paying attention? And our vehicle has 27 different LiDAR camera and sensors around the vehicle. So it's constantly monitoring the situation. And in the event that the LiDAR were to become obstructed, it could still operate independently with just the camera systems alone. That's just one more example of how redundancy should provide confidence to use this vehicle and to use public transit.
Absolutely. You bringing up this question or statement, and I was thinking about the term level 4 autonomy, and
Yes.
edge maybe is something you guys have coined, or maybe it's an industry standard now. The edge cases where
Yes.
where there might be a problem. Is remote operation something that can occur with this particular vehicle? And maybe you did mention that already. I just it may have.
I didn't, but this is a good point to bring up. Remote assistance, absolutely, you will have this all the time. Remote operation, no. The vehicle cannot, and it will not do remote operation. There's no remote control from wherever.
I see.
It can't be taken over. So you have to either be in the vehicle and be riding autonomously up to 37 miles an hour. If there's a certified operator and there's multiple security systems that they have to do in order to get access to the joystick to drive it in limited manual mode, which is the very fast speed of 4 miles an hour. So it's meant to be operated autonomously, but we do not operate it remotely.
Okay.
No driving remote control.
I understand. There's so many things that come to mind, and we could have a conversation for a long time. I could bring up I'm a pretty techie person, And I've been trying to keep it light, and just have a conversation about where the technology is going and how it's going to make a difference in communities. I'm excited for something like this to become more prevalent across the nation, because we do need more transportation. I think of Europe and Germany and specifically because I've traveled there, and their transit system and what they've built is quite amazing. Just like in Japan, you mentioned Japan, and our country is so big. 3,800, 4,000 miles across. It's just wild that we don't have some of the transportation capabilities in corners of the country, and I feel something like this, a shuttle like this, is going to make a huge difference as we march forward in time.
Well, thank you for that. We see the benefit of it, not only for the public transit authorities, but also homeowners associations, universities, hospitals, airports, and there are so many other different use cases that will come up that we didn't think about. We're excited to get on the road and start being able to use these vehicles as soon as possible.
I really appreciate the conversation today, Greg. If you don't have anything else, maybe we'll end it here.
No, it sounds great. I appreciate you for allowing me to have the opportunity to talk about the vehicle. And thank you very much. If there's a chance for us to get back together again, please let me know.
I will. Take care.
Thank you. Have a good day.
That wraps up today's episode of Visions of BVA. A big thank you to Gregory Crandell for joining us and sharing more about the future of autonomous transportation and what it could mean for accessibility. If you enjoyed this conversation, please take a moment to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who cares about independence and mobility for the blind and visually impaired community. We'll see you next time.
You're listening to a BVA production.
Discover the power of movement, connection, and community with the Adaptive Sports and Activities Interest Group. Join fellow veterans in peer-driven conversations focused on adaptive recreation, integrated support, and whole health rehabilitation, all designed to empower dignity, independence, and self-worth. Whether you're looking to get active or stay connected, this is your space to be inspired, supported, and seen. Visit bva.org for more information.